The rain hammered against the windshield of Daniel Sullivan's 2015 Ford F-150 as he navigated through the dark streets of East Nashville on a cold November evening. The rhythmic thump of the wipers couldn't drown out the silence that had filled the truck's cabin for the past 3 weeks, not since the phone call that shattered their world. "Dad, you missed the turn," Emma Grace Sullivan said quietly from the passenger seat, her 11-year-old voice barely audible over the storm. Daniel blinked, realizing he'd driven past Woodland Street without noticing. "Sorry, sweetheart. My mind was somewhere else. It's okay. Mine too." He made a U-turn and pulled into the driveway of their modest 2-bedroom bungalow in the Inglewood neighborhood. The yellow paint was peeling on the porch railings. One of the many repairs he kept meaning to get to, but never found the time or money for. Now, looking at the darkened windows, the house felt more like a shell than a home. Inside, Emma dropped her backpack by the door and headed straight to her room. Daniel stood in the kitchen, staring at the refrigerator covered with photos held by magnets shaped like cowboy boots and guitars. His wife, Sarah Sullivan, smiled back at him from every picture, at their wedding 10 years ago, holding newborn Emma at Vanderbilt Hospital, at last summer's 4th of July barbecue at Shelby Park. 3 weeks. It had only been 3 weeks since a distracted driver ran a red light on Gallatin Pike and took Sarah from them. The doctor said she didn't suffer, that it happened instantly. Daniel wasn't sure if that made it better or worse. He opened the refrigerator out of habit, though he had no appetite. Casseroles from neighbors filled the shelves, well-meaning gestures that he forced himself and Emma to eat, even when every bite tasted like cardboard. The medical bills were already piling up on the counter, despite Sarah having been pronounced dead at the scene. The ambulance ride, the emergency room procedures they'd attempted, the autopsy, it all cost money they didn't have. Daniel worked as a mechanic at Patterson's Auto Repair on Dickerson Pike, pulling in about $45,000 a year before taxes. Sarah had worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office, bringing in another $20,000. They'd been getting by, barely, but her income was gone, and now there was a funeral to pay for, medical bills, and the mortgage on a house that suddenly felt too big and too empty at the same time. From Emma's room, Daniel heard a sound that made his chest tighten, his daughter's voice singing softly. He walked down the narrow hallway and stood outside her door, which was cracked open just enough for him to see inside. Emma sat cross-legged on her bed, holding the old acoustic guitar that had belonged to her grandfather, James "Jimmy" Crawford. The instrument was battered and worn, its sunburst finish faded from decades of use in smoky honky-tonks across Tennessee and Kentucky. Jimmy had died 2 years ago from lung cancer, but not before teaching Emma everything he knew about country music. "He'd come home to you every night," Emma sang, her voice clear and haunting. "And when he'd come home to you, baby, he'd never do you wrong. But somebody had to fight him and he'd come home to you." Daniel recognized the song immediately, "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." It had been Sarah's favorite, the song she and Emma would sing together while doing dishes or driving to Emma's piano lessons at the Blair School of Music. Reba McEntire's version played on repeat in Sarah's car so often that Daniel joked he could sing it in his sleep. Emma's voice cracked on the last line, and she stopped playing, her small shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Daniel pushed the door open and sat beside her on the bed, pulling her into his arms. "I miss her so much, Dad," Emma whispered into his chest. "Everything feels wrong without her." "I know, baby. I know." Daniel stroked her light brown hair, so much like Sarah's. "But we're going to be okay. We have each other." Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her purple hoodie. "Mrs. Henderson said I could take a few more weeks off from school if I needed to, but I don't want to fall behind." "You're the strongest person I know," Daniel said, forcing a smile. "Your mom would be so proud of you. Can I ask you something?" "Anything." Emma's green eyes, her father's eyes, were rimmed red from crying. "Are we going to be okay?" I heard you on the phone yesterday talking about the bills. Daniel's heart sank. He'd tried to keep the financial stress away from Emma, but she was too perceptive, too aware. Don't you worry about that. That's grown-up stuff. I'm handling it. But what if... Emma, he said firmly but gently, I promise you we're going to figure this out. Your mom and I always did, and I'm not going to let her down now. Or you. Emma nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in her expression. She set the guitar carefully on its stand beside her bed, the same stand Jimmy had built by hand 30 years ago. Dad, would it be okay if I kept practicing? Grandpa Jimmy always said music helps when words can't. Of course. Your grandpa was a wise man. Daniel left Emma to her music and returned to the kitchen, where reality waited in the form of bills and bank statements spread across the small dining table. He sat down and pulled out his calculator, running the numbers for what felt like the 100th time. The funeral had cost $8,000, a modest service at Phillips Robinson Funeral Home, but still more than they had in savings. The medical bills totaled another $4,000. The mortgage was $1,200 a month, plus utilities, food, Emma's school expenses, and the payment on his truck. Sarah's final paycheck would arrive next week, but after that, there would be no more income from her. Daniel rubbed his eyes, exhaustion seeping into his bones. He'd taken 2 weeks off work after Sarah's death, using all his saved vacation time, but his boss, Marcus Patterson, had been understanding. Marcus had even passed the hat around the shop, and the guys collected $1,500 to help with the funeral. Daniel had cried when Marcus handed him the envelope, overwhelmed by the kindness. But kindness didn't pay the mortgage. The bank had already sent a letter reminding him that they were sorry for his loss, but that payments were still expected on time. Daniel had $12,000 in credit card debt from previous emergencies, Emma's appendicitis 2 years ago, the new transmission in his truck, the roof repair after last spring's tornado warning, and the minimums alone were $300 a month. He pulled up the bank's website on his phone and logged in to check their checking account balance. $2,147. 52. The mortgage was due in 5 days. From Emma's room, her voice rose again, stronger this time, singing the chorus of "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." Despite everything, Daniel smiled. His daughter had inherited not just Jimmy's guitar, but his gift, that rare ability to take pain and transform it into something beautiful. An idea flickered in the back of Daniel's mind, something Sarah had mentioned months ago after watching Emma perform at her school's talent show. "She's really good, Danny," Sarah had said, her eyes bright with pride. "I mean, really good. Like she could be something special if she had the right opportunities." Daniel had laughed it off at the time. They weren't those kinds of people, the ones whose kids became stars. They were working-class folks just trying to keep the lights on. But now, listening to Emma pour her grief into song, he wondered if Sarah had been right. The next morning, Daniel woke early and made breakfast. Scrambled eggs and toast, nothing fancy. Emma came to the table already dressed for school in jeans and a flannel shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "You sure you're ready to go back?" Daniel asked, sliding a plate in front of her. Emma nodded. "I need to do something normal. Sitting around here just makes me think about her more." "Okay, but if you need to come home, just call me. I'll come get you." "I will." They ate in comfortable silence, the morning sun streaming through the kitchen window and illuminating the dust motes floating in the air. Daniel glanced at the calendar on the wall. December was 2 days away, which meant Christmas was coming. Another expense he didn't know how to handle. But he pushed the thought away, one crisis at a time. After dropping Emma at Inglewood Elementary, Daniel drove to Patterson's Auto Repair. The shop was a converted warehouse on Dickerson Pike, its parking lot filled with vehicles in various states of disrepair. The familiar smell of motor oil and brake fluid greeted him as he walked through the bay doors. "Sullivan, "Good to see you back, man," called out Travis Hendricks, one of the younger mechanics, from underneath a Honda Civic on the lift. "Good to be back," Daniel lied, grabbing his coveralls from the locker. Marcus Patterson emerged from his office, a bear of a man with a grey beard and kind eyes. He'd owned the shop for 25 years and treated his employees like family. "Daniel, got a minute?" They stepped into the small office cluttered with parts, catalogs, and invoices. Marcus closed the door and gestured to a chair. "How you holding up?" "Day by day," Daniel said honestly. "And Emma?" "She's tough, but it's hard on her. Hard on both of us." Marcus leaned back in his chair, which creaked under his weight. "Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. The insurance company is still processing the accident claim, but these things take time, sometimes months. In the meantime, if you need an advance on your paycheck or if you need to pick up some overtime hours, just say the word." Daniel felt a lump form in his throat. "Marcus, you've already done so much. Nonsense. You've been with me 8 years. You're one of my best guys. This is what we do for each other." Marcus pulled out an envelope from his desk drawer. "This came in yesterday. Customer satisfaction bonus from the dealership we do contract work for. Your share is in here." Daniel opened the envelope and found $800 in cash. "Marcus, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything, just take care of that little girl and take care of yourself." Marcus stood, signaling the conversation was over. "Now get out there. We got a Silverado that needs a new fuel pump and the customer wants it done by noon." Daniel returned to the shop floor, his heart a little lighter. The work was familiar and demanding, requiring his full attention, which meant for a few hours he didn't have to think about bills or grief or the empty space beside him in bed. That evening, he picked up Emma from her after-school program and stopped at Kroger for groceries. As they walked through the aisles, Emma quiet beside him, Daniel made mental calculations of every item that went into the cart. Store brand instead of name brand, no snacks or treats, essentials only. At the checkout, the cashier, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, smiled at Emma. "You look familiar. Do you go to Inglewood Elementary?" Emma nodded shyly. "My grandson goes there too. 5th grade. Christopher Martinez." "I'm in 6th grade," Emma said softly. The woman scanned their items, and the total came to $67.43. Daniel handed over his debit card, mentally subtracting the amount from their dwindling balance. As they loaded bags into the truck, Emma finally spoke. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sure, honey." "Do you remember when Grandpa Jimmy used to play at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge on Broadway?" Daniel smiled at the memory. "Every Friday night for years. Your mom and I went to watch him a few times before you were born. Why?" Emma bit her lip, hesitating. "I was thinking. Grandpa always said that music could help people, that it could bring them together. And I was wondering, maybe I could sing somewhere? Not for fun, but to help with money." Daniel stopped loading bags and looked at his daughter. "Emma, you don't have to worry about—" "But I want to help," she interrupted, her voice firm. "Mom always said we're a team. And teams help each other. I'm good at singing. Grandpa Jimmy said so. Maybe I could sing at one of those places on Broadway and people would give tips." The idea that had flickered in Daniel's mind the night before now flared brighter. Emma was talented. Everyone who heard her said so. And Nashville was full of aspiring singers, playing for tips in bars and on street corners. But she was 11 years old. It felt wrong to even consider it. "Let me think about it," Daniel said finally. That night, after Emma was asleep, Daniel sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and searched for information about young performers in Nashville. He learned that minors could perform in establishments that served alcohol as long as they didn't stay past 9 p.m. on school nights and had parental supervision. Several articles featured stories of young singers who got their start playing in downtown Nashville and went on to successful careers. He clicked on a video of a 14-year-old girl performing at the Bluebird Cafe. Her voice was good, But Emma's was better, more soulful, with a quality that made you stop and listen. He thought about Sarah's words. She could be something special. Daniel closed the laptop and walked to Emma's room. She was asleep, curled up with an old stuffed rabbit that Sarah had given her when she was 3. On the nightstand, Jimmy's guitar rested on its stand, waiting. Maybe, Daniel thought, Sarah had left them more than grief and bills. Maybe she'd left them a way forward. The Rusty Spoke wasn't the most famous honky-tonk on Broadway, but it wasn't the worst either. Tucked between a souvenir shop and a hot chicken restaurant, the 2-story building had a neon sign out front, featuring a spinning wagon wheel and the words, "Live music every night," in flickering red letters. Daniel stood outside on a Friday evening in early December, Emma beside him, clutching Jimmy's guitar case, both of them staring at the entrance like it was the gateway to another world. "You don't have to do this if you've changed your mind," Daniel said for the 3rd time. Emma squared her small shoulders. "I want to, for Mom, and for us." Inside, the Rusty Spoke was exactly what Daniel expected. Dim lighting, wooden floors scarred by decades of boot heels, walls covered with faded concert posters and photographs of country music legends. A small stage occupied the far corner, currently featuring a middle-aged man with a weathered face singing a Merle Haggard song to a sparse crowd of tourists and locals. Daniel approached the bar, where a woman in her 40s with bleached blonde hair and a tattoo of a rose on her forearm was wiping down glasses. Her name tag read Kelly. "Help you?" she asked, her voice friendly but businesslike. "I'm Daniel Sullivan. I called earlier this week about my daughter possibly performing here." Kelly's eyes shifted to Emma, then back to Daniel. "Right. You talked to Brent, the owner. He said you could have a slot tonight, 9 to 9:30. But look, I gotta be honest. We don't usually have kids this young. You sure about this?" "She's talented," Daniel said, "and we wouldn't be here if we had other options." Kelly's expression softened. "Fair enough. Lots of folks in Nashville got the same story. She can set up in that corner over there when Tommy finishes his set. Standard deal. Whatever tips she makes, she keeps. House doesn't take a cut on Fridays." "Thank you," Emma said quietly. Kelly leaned over the bar, lowering her voice so only they could hear. "Listen, honey, people come here to drink and forget their problems. If you can help them do that, they'll be generous. If not, well, don't take it personal, it's just business." Emma nodded solemnly, and they found a small table near the stage. Daniel ordered a Coke for Emma and a beer for himself that he nursed slowly, knowing every dollar counted. As they waited, he watched his daughter's face, saw the nervousness there but also determination. She was so much like Sarah, it hurt. Tommy finished his set to scattered applause, and Kelly waved Emma over. "You're up, kid." Emma climbed onto the small stage, which was barely elevated a foot off the floor. She pulled out Jimmy's guitar and adjusted the microphone stand, which was way too high for her. Daniel jumped up to help, lowering it to her level. "Thanks, Dad," she whispered. "You got this," he whispered back, squeezing her shoulder before returning to his seat. The crowd, maybe 20 people scattered throughout the bar, barely noticed the transition. Emma sat on the stool, settled the guitar on her lap, and took a deep breath. Her fingers found the opening chords, and then she began to sing. He was on his way home from Candletop, been 2 weeks gone, and he thought he'd stop. The opening lines of "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" filled the air, and something shifted in the room. One by one, heads turned, conversations quieted. Emma's voice, clear, powerful, and filled with an aching vulnerability, cut through the ambient noise like a spotlight piercing darkness. Daniel watched the transformation happen in real time. A couple near the bar stopped mid-conversation. A group of tourists by the window lowered their phones. Even Kelly paused her glass wiping to listen. Emma sang with her eyes closed, lost in the music the way Jimmy used to get lost. Her voice carried the weight of genuine grief, the kind that can't be faked or manufactured. When she reached the chorus, "That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man," her voice soared, filling every corner of the small honky-tonk. When the final note faded, there was a moment of profound silence. Then the applause erupted, genuine, enthusiastic applause that made Emma's eyes fly open in surprise. She looked at her father, a tentative smile breaking across her face. "Play another one," someone shouted from the back. Emma launched into "Why Haven't I Heard From You" by Reba McEntire, another of her mother's favorites, and the crowd was completely hers. Daniel felt tears prick his eyes as he watched his daughter transform grief into something beautiful, just as Jimmy had taught her. By the time Emma finished her 30-minute set, a crowd had gathered near the stage. When she stepped down, people approached with bills, 5s, 10s, even a 20 from an older gentleman in a cowboy hat who told her she reminded him of his granddaughter. Kelly caught Daniel's arm as they prepared to leave. "Bring her back next Friday, same time, and Saturday too if she's up for it." That was something special. In the truck on the way home, Emma counted the tips 3 times, unable to believe it. "Dad, there's $147 here." Daniel felt a surge of hope mixed with guilt. "You earned every penny, sweetheart. You were amazing. Can we do it again? If you want to, but only if it doesn't interfere with school or make you too tired." Emma clutched the bills to her chest, staring out at the Nashville lights streaming past. "Mum would have loved this, wouldn't she?" "She would have been so proud," Daniel said, his voice thick. "She is proud, wherever she is." Over the next 3 weeks, Emma performed at the Rusty Spoke every Friday and Saturday night, building a small but loyal following. Word spread on local social media pages about the talented young girl with the old soul voice singing at the honky-tonk on Broadway. Her tips grew, some nights bringing in over $200. Daniel deposited every dollar into their checking account. Watching the balance slowly climb from the danger zone, they made the December mortgage payment on time. He bought groceries without counting every item. Emma got new shoes when her old ones wore out. It wasn't prosperity, but it was survival, and that felt like a miracle. The first Friday in December, something unexpected happened. A woman in her 30s approached Daniel during Emma's break, introducing herself as Michelle Carter, a content creator who ran a YouTube channel featuring Nashville street performers and local talent. "Would you mind if I filmed Emma's next set?" Michelle asked, showing her credentials and subscriber count on her phone, 182,000 followers. "I think my audience would really connect with her story and her voice. No charge, no obligation. I just love supporting local artists." Daniel hesitated, protective instincts flaring, but Emma, overhearing the conversation, nodded eagerly. "It's okay, Dad. Grandpa Jimmy always said music was meant to be shared." "All right," Daniel agreed, "but nothing about our personal situation. Just the music." Michelle filmed Emma's entire second set that night, capturing her performance of "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" with professional equipment and careful framing. Before she left, she gave Daniel her card. "I'll edit this tonight and post it tomorrow. I'll tag the Rusty Spoke and mention her performance schedule. This could really help build her audience." Daniel thanked her, though he didn't fully understand what building an audience meant in practical terms. He was a mechanic, not a social media expert. But Emma seemed excited, and that was enough. The video went live Saturday afternoon. By Sunday morning, it had 10,000 views. By Monday, 50,000. By Wednesday, when Daniel checked during his lunch break at the shop, the number had climbed to 300,000, with thousands of comments flooding in. "Who is this child? Her voice is incredible. She sounds like she's lived 100 lives. That emotion is real. Better than half the artists on country radio right now. Someone get this girl a record deal." Daniel's phone started ringing with unfamiliar numbers. Local reporters wanting interviews, bar owners offering performance slots, even a few people claiming to be talent agents. He ignored most of them, overwhelmed and suspicious. But Marcus, ever practical, offered advice. Be careful, Daniel. Nashville's full of sharks who prey on desperate people with talented kids. Don't sign anything without a lawyer looking at it first. And whatever you do, keep Emma's best interests first, not the money. I will, Daniel promised. That Friday night at the Rusty Spoke, the crowd was 3 times larger than normal. People lined the walls, standing room only, with phones held high to record Emma's performance. Kelly had to call in extra security, just a friend of hers who worked as a bouncer at Tootsie's, to manage the flow of people. Emma handled the attention with remarkable grace, focusing on the music rather than the cameras. She sang "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" as her opening number, and the crowd sang along with the chorus, their voices joining hers in a moment of collective catharsis. After her set, as Daniel helped Emma pack up the guitar, a distinguished-looking man in his 50s approached. He wore expensive jeans, a pressed button-down shirt, and boots that probably cost more than Daniel's truck payment. His silver hair was styled perfectly, and he carried himself with the confidence of someone used to getting what he wanted. "Mr. Sullivan? I'm Robert Jennings. I'm a talent manager here in Nashville. I'd love to talk to you about Emma's future." Daniel instinctively stepped between the man and his daughter. "We're not interested in management right now." Robert smiled, not offended. "I understand your caution. This town has a reputation. But I've been in the business 30 years, worked with some of the biggest names in country music. I'm not here to take advantage. I'm here because your daughter has something rare. Real talent combined with authenticity. That's lightning in a bottle." He handed Daniel a business card with embossed lettering. "Just think about it. No pressure. But if you ever want to talk about legitimate opportunities, recording, professional training, performances at better venues, give me a call. I can help protect her from the people who would exploit this." After Robert left, Kelly approached with Emma's tips for the night, over $400. "That's the biggest Friday crowd we've had in 2 years. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Brent wants to give Emma a regular Saturday slot too, and he's willing to guarantee a $100 minimum, even on slow nights." In the truck driving home, Emma was quiet, processing everything. Finally, she spoke. "Dad, do you think I'm good enough? Like really good enough for all this?" Daniel glanced at his daughter, seeing Sarah's features in her face, the slope of her nose, the curve of her smile. "Baby, you're more than good enough. You're extraordinary, but I need you to understand something. This is getting bigger than I expected. And I want to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I don't want you to feel like you have to do this to save us. You're 11 years old. You should be worrying about homework and friends, not paying our bills." Emma was quiet for a moment, then said, "Remember what Mom used to say, that God gives us gifts not just for ourselves, but to help others. Maybe my voice is supposed to help us right now, and maybe that's okay." Daniel's throat tightened. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best," Emma said softly. December rolled into mid-month, and Nashville transformed with Christmas decorations. The Rusty Spoke hung lights and garland, and Emma began incorporating holiday songs into her sets, Blue Christmas and Hard Candy Christmas, from Dolly Parton's repertoire. The tips kept coming, and Michelle's video had surpassed 1 million views. Other videos appeared, audience members posting their own recordings from Emma's performances. The comment sections became gathering places for people sharing their own stories of loss and resilience, finding connection through Emma's music. One comment in particular struck Daniel when he read it late one night. "My daughter died 3 years ago in a car accident. She was 12. Listening to this young girl sing makes me feel close to her again. Thank you for sharing your gift with us." Daniel showed the comment to Emma the next morning over breakfast. She read it twice, her eyes glistening. "Do you think my singing really helps people like that?" "I know it does," Daniel said. "That's the power of what you're doing, Em. It's not just about the money. You're giving people something to hold on to." Emma nodded slowly. "Then I want to keep doing it. For them. And for Mom." The week before Christmas, Daniel finally had enough saved to buy Emma a decent present, a new case for Jimmy's guitar, one with proper padding and protection. It wasn't much, but it was something. Their checking account had climbed to just over $8,000, enough to cover January's mortgage and start building a small emergency fund. At the shop, Daniel's co-workers asked about Emma constantly, proud to know someone connected to that viral singing girl. Travis even came to the Rusty Spoke one Saturday night with his girlfriend, dropping a $50 bill in Emma's tip jar and giving Daniel a thumbs up from across the room. "You got a special kid there, man," Travis said during break on Monday. "My girlfriend cried during that Georgia song, like full-on tears, said it reminded her of her cousin who died in Iraq." Marcus pulled Daniel aside that afternoon. "I've been thinking, what Emma's doing, it's good. But you need to protect her. Get a separate bank account in her name for the tip money. Talk to an accountant about taxes, because if she's making this much regularly, the IRS will want their cut. And if you ever do sign with a manager lawyer first, promise me." "I promise," Daniel said, grateful for the guidance. Christmas came quietly. Daniel and Emma put up a small tree, a scraggly thing from the lot that they decorated with ornaments Sarah had collected over the years. On Christmas morning, Emma gave her father a framed photo of the three of them from the previous summer at Percy Warner Park, before their world fell apart. Daniel gave Emma the guitar case and a new set of strings for Jimmy's guitar. They visited Sarah's grave at Mount Olivet Cemetery, placing flowers by the headstone and singing "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" together, their voices carrying across the quiet hills. It hurt, but it also felt right, like keeping Sarah present in their lives through the music she'd loved. The week between Christmas and New Year's was slow at the Rusty Spoke, with many regulars traveling to visit family. But Emma still performed, and a few tourists discovered her, leaving generous tips and enthusiastic reviews on Google and Yelp. On New Year's Eve, Kelly asked Emma to perform an extra-long set, 10 p.m. to midnight, as part of the bar's celebration. Daniel agreed, and they stayed up past midnight for the first time since Sarah's death, welcoming 2026 with music and hope. As they drove home in the early hours of January 1st, Nashville's skyline glittering behind them, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in months: possibility. The road ahead was still uncertain, but they were moving forward, and that was enough. January 2026 brought bitter cold to Nashville, with temperatures dropping into the teens and a rare snowfall that blanketed the city for 3 days. Emma's school closed for winter weather, which meant she couldn't perform at the Rusty Spoke that Friday night because Daniel had to work a full day at the shop, dealing with customers whose cars wouldn't start in the cold. But by Saturday evening, the roads were clear enough for them to make the drive downtown. Emma was restless from being cooped up, eager to return to the small stage that had become her sanctuary. The Rusty Spoke was packed. The weather seemed to have driven people indoors, seeking warmth and entertainment. Emma performed her usual set, opening with "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" and closing with "Fancy" by Reba McEntire, a song that told the story of a poor girl from the rural South who becomes a high-class call girl to escape poverty. The lyrics were mature for an 11-year-old, but Emma sang them with understanding rather than innocence, focusing on the themes of survival and sacrifice. That night, a woman named Alicia Thompson was in the audience. Alicia worked as a production assistant for a morning talk show on a local Nashville television station, and she'd heard about Emma from her college roommate who'd seen Michelle Carter's YouTube video. Alicia recorded Emma's entire set on her phone, captivated by the juxtaposition of such a young performer singing with such emotional depth. On Monday morning, Alicia showed the footage to her boss, Jennifer Holloway, the show's producer. Jennifer watched in silence, then replayed it twice. "Get them booked for Friday morning. I want her on our local spotlight segment. This is exactly the kind of feel-good story we need." That Monday evening, Daniel's phone rang with an unfamiliar number. He almost didn't answer. He'd learned to be wary of unsolicited calls, but something made him pick up. "Is this Daniel Sullivan, father of Emma Grace Sullivan?" a professional female voice asked. "Yes. Who's calling?" "My name is Jennifer Holloway. I produce Good Morning Tennessee on WKRN. We'd love to feature Emma on our Friday morning show. It's a 5-minute segment, live at 8:15 a.m. We'll talk about her music, her performances at the Rusty Spoke, and have her sing one song live. We don't pay guests, but it's excellent exposure." Daniel's heart raced. Local television was different from YouTube videos or performing in bars. This felt significant, like crossing a threshold. "Can I talk to Emma and get back to you?" "Of course. Here's my direct number." That night over dinner, spaghetti with store-brand sauce that Emma had learned to doctor with garlic and oregano, Daniel presented the opportunity. Emma's eyes widened. "Real television? Like on the news?" "Not news exactly. It's a morning talk show. They do interviews and community segments." "Would I have to talk? I'm not good at talking in front of people. Just a little." "Mostly you'd sing." "I'd be right there with you." Emma twirled spaghetti around her fork, thinking, "Okay, let's do it. Maybe it'll help other kids who lost someone know they're not alone." Daniel called Jennifer back and confirmed. She emailed him details. They needed to arrive at the studio by 7 a.m. Emma should wear something comfortable and colorful, bring her guitar, and be prepared to discuss why music was important to her. The rest of the week passed in a blur of nerves and preparation. Emma practiced her talking points with Daniel, trying to articulate what singing meant to her. It was harder than performing, putting feelings into words rather than notes. Friday morning arrived cold and clear. Daniel and Emma drove to the WKRN studios on Knob Road, arriving at 6:45. The building was larger than Daniel expected, with satellite trucks parked outside, and a reception area featuring photos of news anchors and show hosts. Jennifer met them in the lobby, an energetic woman in her 40s with short red hair and a warm smile. "Emma, so glad you could make it. Come on back. We'll get you mic'd up and show you the set." The studio was a controlled chaos of cameras, lights, and crew members rushing to prepare for the live broadcast. The main set featured 2 yellow couches, a coffee table with flowers, and a backdrop showing the Nashville skyline. Emma gripped Daniel's hand tightly as they walked through. "Nothing to worry about," Jennifer assured them. "Our hosts, Carol and James, are wonderful with kids. They'll ask you a few questions, you'll answer naturally, and then you'll sing. That's it. 12 minutes total, including commercial breaks." A sound technician fitted Emma with a small microphone clipped to her shirt, and someone from hair and makeup touched up her face with powder. Emma sat still but looked terrified, and Daniel wanted to call the whole thing off, but then Emma caught his eye and gave him a small nod. She was scared, but willing. At 8:14, they were positioned on the couch. The hosts, Carol Henderson and James Mitchell, both polished professionals in their 50s, settled into their seats. During the commercial break, Carol leaned over and whispered to Emma, "You're going to be great, sweetie. Just pretend we're sitting in your living room having a chat." The floor director counted down, "Live in 5, 4, 3, and pointed at Carol. "Welcome back to Good Morning Tennessee. We have a very special guest this morning. You might have seen videos of her circulating online, a young girl with an old soul voice performing at honky tonks on Broadway. Please welcome Emma Grace Sullivan and her father, Daniel Sullivan." The camera's red light glowed, and Emma managed a shy smile. Carol asked gentle questions. How did Emma get interested in singing? Who taught her? What was her favorite song? Emma answered quietly but honestly, mentioning her grandfather Jimmy and the guitar he'd left her. When Carol asked why she performed at the Rusty Spoke, Emma paused, glancing at Daniel. "It's okay, honey," Daniel murmured off mic. Emma turned back to Carol. "My mom died in November, in a car accident, and singing helps me feel close to her. She loved country music, especially Reba McEntire. So when I sing the song she loved, it's like she's still here with me." The studio went quiet. Carol's professional smile faltered, genuine emotion breaking through. "Oh, sweetheart. I'm so sorry for your loss. That's incredibly brave of you to share." James jumped in smoothly, redirecting. "Emma, we understand you're going to sing one of your mother's favorite songs for us today. The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, correct?" Emma nodded, grateful for the shift. "Yes, sir." "Well, we can't wait to hear it. Emma Grace Sullivan, everybody." Emma moved to the performance area, a small stage with a stool and a microphone stand. She settled Jimmy's guitar on her lap, took a breath, and began to play. The studio monitors showed her face in close-up as she sang, capturing every nuance of emotion. The crew, who'd seen hundreds of performances on this set, stopped their bustling to listen. By the second chorus, Carol was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. When Emma finished, the applause from the crew was spontaneous and genuine. Carol and James both stood, and Carol gave Emma a hug that seemed to surprise them both. "That was absolutely beautiful," Carol said, her voice thick. "Thank you for sharing that with us." After the segment ended and they were off air, Jennifer approached Daniel in the green room. "That was powerful television. I know we said we don't pay guests, but I'd like to give Emma a $100 gift card to Target for her time and for sharing something so personal." "That's very kind," Daniel said, shaking her hand. "Thank you for treating her with respect." On the drive back to drop Emma at school, she'd miss first period but could make it by 9:30. Emma was quiet, processing. Finally, she said, "Dad, was it okay that I told them about Mom?" "Of course it was. You were honest. That's always okay." "I didn't want people to feel sorry for us." Daniel pulled into the elementary school parking lot and turned to face his daughter. "Emma, people aren't feeling sorry for us. They're connecting with us. There's a difference. You're showing them that it's possible to keep going even when something terrible happens. That's a gift." Emma nodded slowly, then grabbed her backpack and headed into school, looking small and brave in equal measure. Daniel drove to the shop, turned on the radio, and heard the DJ mention Emma's performance. "If you missed Good Morning Tennessee this morning, you got to find the video online. This 11-year-old girl from Nashville absolutely brought down the house. I'm not crying, you're crying." At work, Marcus was waiting. "Saw the show. She did great. How's she handling all this attention?" "Better than me," Daniel admitted. "I just want to make sure it doesn't overwhelm her. Keep her grounded. Keep her in school. Don't let anyone promise you the moon, and trust your gut." That afternoon, Daniel's phone started buzzing with notifications. The WKRN segment had been posted to YouTube, and within hours, it had 50,000 views. By evening, 200,000. By the next morning, over 1 million, with local and national media outlets sharing clips. The comment section exploded. "This child is the future of country music." Her story broke my heart. "Sending love from Texas. I lost my husband last year. This song helps me process that grief. Thank you, Emma. Get this girl on The Voice. Reba McEntire needs to see this. Someone tag Reba." That last comment appeared hundreds of times, with users tagging Reba McEntire's official social media accounts. Daniel didn't think much of it. Celebrities got tagged in millions of posts daily. The chance of Reba actually seeing a video of a random 11-year-old from Nashville seemed astronomically small. Robert Jennings, the talent manager who'd approached them at the Rusty Spoke, called again. "Daniel, I hope you're ready for what's about to happen. That television appearance changed everything. Your phone is going to ring non-stop. I strongly encourage you to consider professional representation before you make any decisions." "I'll think about it," Daniel said, non-committal. But Robert was right. By Sunday, Daniel had voicemails from 3 different record labels, 2 more talent managers, a booking agent who wanted Emma to perform at the CMA Fest in June, and a producer asking if Emma would be interested in competing on a televised singing competition. Daniel felt like he was drowning in options he didn't understand. He was a mechanic, not an entertainment industry professional. Every decision felt massive, potentially life-changing in ways he couldn't predict. That Sunday afternoon, he and Emma sat down at the kitchen table with a legal pad and tried to make sense of it all. "What do you want, Em? Really want?" Emma thought for a long moment. "I want to keep singing, and I want us to be okay. But I don't want to do anything that feels wrong or fake. Grandpa Jimmy always said music has to come from truth, or it doesn't mean anything." Daniel wrote that down. "Keep singing, stay authentic, take care of each other." "Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We keep doing what we're doing. You perform at the Rusty Spoke on weekends. You focus on school during the week. If the right opportunity comes along, something that feels genuine and safe, we'll consider it. But we don't jump at everything just because it's flashy. Deal?" "Deal." That evening, Emma performed at the Rusty Spoke to a packed house. Kelly had to turn people away at the door. Emma sang her heart out, and when she performed, "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia," the entire bar sang along with the chorus, their voices rising in collective harmony. After her set, a young couple approached with their daughter, who looked about 7. "Emma, our daughter is too shy to ask, but could she take a picture with you?" You inspired her to start taking singing lessons. Emma crouched down to the little girl's level. "What's your name?" "Sophia," the girl whispered. "That's a beautiful name. Are you going to be a singer?" Sophia nodded enthusiastically, and Emma smiled. "Then you keep practicing, okay? And don't let anyone tell you you're not good enough." They took the photo, and Daniel watched his daughter handle her growing recognition with grace and humility. Sarah would have been so proud. January slipped into February. Emma's routine stabilized. School during the week, performances on Friday and Saturday nights, homework on Sunday afternoons. Her teachers reported she was doing well academically despite everything, and her school counselor noted that Emma seemed to be processing her grief in healthy ways. The tips kept coming, and Daniel religiously deposited them into Emma's dedicated savings account. By mid-February, she'd earned over $12,000 from performing. It was enough to cover their mortgage for 6 months if necessary, though Daniel hoped it wouldn't come to that. His own income was steady, and with the customer satisfaction bonuses Marcus had been securing, they were finally building financial stability. Michelle Carter, the YouTuber who'd first filmed Emma, did a follow-up video featuring an interview with both Emma and Daniel. It was thoughtful and respectful, focusing on Emma's musical influences and her relationship with her grandfather's legacy. That video also went viral, surpassing 2 million views. Several established country artists shared Emma's videos on social media, including Chris Stapleton's wife Morgane, who commented, "This child's voice is a gift. Protect it and nurture it." That endorsement from within the Nashville community meant more to Daniel than all the attention from strangers. But through it all, there was no word from Reba McEntire. Despite hundreds of thousands of tags and mentions, Reba's accounts remained silent. Daniel didn't mention it to Emma, not wanting her to be disappointed, but he'd be lying if he said part of him hadn't hoped. Reba had been Sarah's favorite, after all. It would have meant something. On the 3rd Saturday in February, Emma was halfway through her set at the Rusty Spoke when her phone, which Daniel kept behind the bar for safety, started buzzing insistently. Kelly picked it up, glanced at the screen, and her eyes went wide. She rushed over to Daniel. "You need to see this," she said, shoving the phone at him. The screen showed notifications from Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all saying variants of the same thing. "Reba McEntire mentioned you in a post." Daniel's hand shook as he opened Instagram. There, on Reba McEntire's verified account with its millions of followers, was a repost of Emma singing "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." The caption read, "This precious child has a voice that stopped me in my tracks." Emma Grace Sullivan, singing one of my songs with so much heart and soul. "I've been following your story, sweet girl. You're something special. Nashville, take care of this one." Daniel stared at the screen, unable to process what he was seeing. Reba McEntire, the Reba McEntire, had not only seen Emma's videos, but had taken the time to acknowledge her publicly. Kelly was practically bouncing with excitement. "Do you know what this means? Reba has 50 million followers across all platforms. Emma just got endorsed by country music royalty." Daniel didn't tell Emma until after her set ended. He wanted her to finish performing without the distraction, but when he showed her the post in the truck on the way home, Emma's reaction surprised him. She read it 3 times, silent tears streaming down her face. "Mom loved her so much," she whispered. "It's like, I don't know, like Mom sent her to let us know everything's going to be okay." Daniel pulled into their driveway and hugged his daughter tight. "Everything is going to be okay, Em. We're making it. Together." That night, neither of them could sleep. They sat at the kitchen table eating ice cream and talking about Sarah, sharing favorite memories. Emma told stories Daniel had never heard, small moments between mother and daughter that Sarah had never mentioned. In turn, Daniel shared stories from before Emma was born, when Sarah was young and full of dreams. "She wanted to be a singer too, you know," Daniel said, "before she met me. She had a good voice, not as good as yours, but good. She sang in the church choir. Why'd she stop? Life got in the way. Jobs, bills, responsibilities. Then she had you, and you became her dream. Everything she did was for you." Emma absorbed this quietly. "Then I'll sing for both of us." Reba McEntire's endorsement changed everything overnight. By Monday morning, Emma's follower count on the social media accounts Daniel had reluctantly created for her had jumped from 3,000 to over 200,000. The WKRN segment had been viewed 10 million times. National news outlets were picking up the story. CNN, Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight. Daniel's phone rang constantly with media requests, performance offers, and sponsorship opportunities. A clothing company wanted to send Emma free merchandise in exchange for photos. A guitar manufacturer offered to provide her with a new instrument. 3 different literary agents reached out, asking if Emma would be interested in writing a memoir. "She's 11, Daniel told one particularly persistent agent. "She doesn't have enough life experience for a memoir." At Patterson's Auto Repair, Daniel could barely focus on work. Marcus finally pulled him aside. "Take the rest of the week off, paid. You need to deal with all this properly, and you can't do that while worrying about fuel pumps and brake jobs." "Marcus, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking, I'm telling. Go home, handle your business, protect your daughter. Come back when things settle down." Daniel took the offer gratefully. That afternoon, he made 2 important calls. The first was to Robert Jennings, the talent manager who'd approached them in January. "Robert, if your offer still stands, I'd like to meet, officially, with a lawyer present." Robert's voice was calm and professional. "Smart move. I'll recommend someone. Patricia Reeves, entertainment lawyer, completely independent of me. She'll review any contract I propose and make sure you and Emma are protected. How's Wednesday afternoon?" The second call was to Emma's school. He spoke with Mrs. Henderson, Emma's 6th grade teacher, and the principal, Mr. David Norton. "I want to make sure all this attention doesn't interfere with Emma's education. She needs normalcy." Mr. Norton was understanding. We've already discussed this with our staff. Emma's privacy and well-being are our priorities. We've instructed teachers not to treat her differently or allow other students to disrupt class discussing her performances. If it becomes a problem, we'll address it immediately. That evening, Daniel sat Emma down for a serious conversation. Things are moving fast, Em. Faster than I expected. I need to know, is this what you want, really want? Because if it's too much, we can step back. Your happiness matters more than any opportunity. Emma was quiet for a long time, her fingers absently tracing the grain of wood on Jimmy's guitar. I like singing, I like that it helps people, but sometimes I miss when it was just me and Grandpa Jimmy playing in our living room, you know? Before it was about views and comments and all that, then we'll be more selective. We'll say no to things that don't feel right. You're in control here, not the other way around. Emma nodded, looking relieved. Can I still sing at the Rusty Spoke? That feels real to me. Absolutely. Wednesday's meeting with Robert Jennings and Patricia Reeves took place at Patricia's office in the Gulch, Nashville's trendy district of restaurants and high-rises. Patricia was a sharp woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair and a no-nonsense demeanor that immediately put Daniel at ease. Robert laid out his proposal simply. He would serve as Emma's manager, helping her navigate opportunities, negotiate contracts, and build a sustainable career. His fee would be 15% of any earnings directly related to his efforts, performances he booked, deals he negotiated, etc. The tips Emma earned independently at the Rusty Spoke would remain entirely hers. My goal, Robert said, looking directly at Emma, is to help you build a career that lasts, not make you a flash-in-the-pan viral sensation who's forgotten in 6 months. That means being selective, strategic, and patient. Patricia reviewed the contract thoroughly, asking pointed questions about termination clauses, financial transparency, and Daniel's authority as Emma's parent and legal guardian. She requested several changes, which Robert agreed to without hesitation. The fact that he's willing to negotiate tells me he's legitimate, Patricia told Daniel during a private moment. The scam artists are the ones who pressure you to sign immediately without legal review. Daniel signed the management contract and Robert immediately got to work. His first order of business was declining 90% of the offers on the table. Tacky merchandise deals, exploitative reality shows, anything that feels like it's using Emma rather than supporting her, all declined. But Robert did identify a few opportunities worth considering. The CMA Fest in June had officially invited Emma to perform a 15-minute set on the Chevy Riverfront stage. Several reputable venues around Nashville wanted to book her for special performances. And most intriguingly, a respected producer named Glenn Morris wanted to meet about potentially recording a few songs, not a full album, but a 3-song EP that could be released digitally. Nothing that obligates her long-term, Robert emphasized. Nothing that takes her out of school or disrupts her normal life. Just careful, measured steps forward. Emma's performances at the Rusty Spoke continued every Friday and Saturday, but now with professional security that Robert arranged, an off-duty police officer who made sure the crowd stayed manageable and Emma stayed safe. The tips remained strong, and Kelly had negotiated with Brent to guarantee Emma $300 per night, regardless of tips, as her regular payment for drawing such consistent crowds. In March, Emma recorded 3 songs at Ocean Way Nashville Studios, one of the city's premier recording facilities. Glenn Morris, who'd worked with artists like Keith Urban and Casey Musgraves, produced. They recorded The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, Why Haven't I Heard From You, and an original song that Daniel and Emma had written together called Grandpa's Guitar. The original song was simple, just Emma and the acoustic guitar, no additional instrumentation, but emotionally devastating. It told the story of Jimmy teaching Emma to play, the lessons he passed down, and how music connected 3 generations. Daniel had helped with the lyrics, but the melody was all Emma, something she'd been humming for weeks after Sarah's death. The recording process fascinated Emma. Glenn was patient and encouraging, doing take after take until every note was perfect, without losing the raw emotion that made Emma's voice special. "You can't teach what she has," Glenn told Daniel during a break. "That authenticity, that connection to the lyrics, most singers spend their whole careers trying to find that." The 3-song EP titled Lights and Legacy was released digitally in mid-April. Robert had negotiated a distribution deal with a small independent label that specialized in Americana and country music. They had no expectations beyond perhaps a few thousand downloads from Emma's existing fans. Within 24 hours, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia had been streamed 1.2 million times on Spotify. By the end of the week, all 3 songs had charted on iTunes country charts, with Grandpa's Guitar reaching number 17. The reviews from music critics were overwhelmingly positive. Emma Grace Sullivan sings with a maturity that belies her young age. This isn't a novelty act, this is genuine artistry. Nashville Scene, the breakout voice of 2026. Mark my words. Rolling Stone country, heartbreaking and hopeful in equal measure. The Tennessee and Robert fielded calls from major labels wanting to sign Emma to recording contracts. He declined all of them. "She's 11. We're not locking her into anything long-term until she's old enough to understand what she's signing." The money from streaming and digital sales wasn't enormous, maybe $5,000 after the label took their share. But it was meaningful. More importantly, it proved that Emma's appeal wasn't just viral novelty. People genuinely connected with her music. Through it all, Daniel maintained strict boundaries. Emma's bedtime remained 8:30 p.m. on school nights, even when Robert wanted to book evening performances. She attended every day of school except for the 3 days they spent recording at the studio. She still did her homework at the kitchen table every evening, still had chores, still lived as normal a life as possible under extraordinary circumstances. Her teachers reported that Emma was handling the attention well. A few classmates asked for autographs or wanted to take selfies, but Emma's friends, the core group she'd known since kindergarten, treated her the same as always. For that, Daniel was grateful. In early May, Robert called with news that made Daniel's heart stop. Reba McEntire's team reached out. "She's taping a TV special in Nashville in 3 weeks. Reba and Friends, a country music showcase. They want Emma to perform as one of the featured guests. It's a duet with Reba herself." The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Daniel sat down heavily. "Reba wants to sing with Emma?" "Yes, it'll be filmed at the Ryman Auditorium and air on CBS in July. Daniel, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. The Ryman is sacred ground in country music, and performing with Reba, that's a stamp of approval that money can't buy." "What does Emma think?" "I haven't told her yet. I wanted your permission first." That night, Daniel sat Emma down after dinner. "Em, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really think about whether you're comfortable with it." He explained the offer. Emma's eyes grew wider and wider. "Reba McEntire wants to sing with me, actually sing with me, on the same stage." "Yes." Emma was silent for so long, Daniel thought she might be too overwhelmed. Then she whispered, "Mom would have freaked out, like completely lost her mind." Daniel laughed, wiping sudden tears. "She absolutely would have." "Then yes, I want to do it. For Mom." The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Emma had to learn Reba's arrangement of the song, which included harmony parts and a different tempo than Emma usually used. A vocal coach Robert hired, a woman named Diane Foster who'd worked with Broadway performers, met with Emma 3 times a week to prepare. "Don't try to match Reba's power," Diane advised. That's not your strength. Your strength is emotional authenticity. Sing your truth and the harmonies will work themselves out. They had one rehearsal with Reba scheduled for the morning of the taping. That was it, one run-through, then the live performance in front of an audience that evening. The night before the taping, Emma couldn't sleep. Daniel found her at 2 a.m. sitting in the living room, holding Jimmy's guitar but not playing. Nervous? He asked, sitting beside her. Terrified. What if I mess up? What if my voice cracks? What if I forget the words? Then you'll be human. And Reba chose you. Out of thousands of talented singers, she chose you. That means she believes in you, so believe in yourself. Emma leaned against her father. Will you be there? Like, where I can see you? Front row. I'm not missing this for anything. The Ryman Auditorium, known as the Mother Church of Country Music, stood on Fifth Avenue in downtown Nashville, its red brick facade and arched windows unchanged since its construction in 1892. Daniel and Emma arrived at 8 a.m. on May 23rd, entering through the stage door where countless legends had walked before them. The interior took Emma's breath away, rows of wooden pews, a balcony curving around the space, and a stage that seemed both intimate and enormous. This was where Hank Williams had performed, where Johnny Cash had recorded his legendary live album, where Patsy Cline had sung her heart out. It's like a church, Emma whispered. It was a church, said a warm, familiar voice from the wings. The tabernacle built for revival meetings. Then it became something else, a place where people worship music instead of God, or maybe both at once. Emma turned, and there she was, Reba McEntire, the legend herself, walking toward them with an easy smile. She was smaller in person than she appeared on television, wearing jeans and a simple black shirt, her red hair pulled back in a ponytail. But her presence filled the space. Emma Grace Sullivan, Reba said, extending her hand. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Emma shook her hand, starstruck into silence. Daniel stepped forward. Ms. McEntire, I'm Daniel, Emma's father. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Call me Reba, please, and it's my pleasure. When I saw Emma's videos, something just clicked. That voice, that story, I had to meet her. Reba turned back to Emma. I lost my father when I was young too. Not as young as you, but young enough that I understand that hollow feeling. Music saved me, gave me something to pour all those feelings into. Emma found her voice. My mom loved you. She played your songs constantly. Reba's expression softened. Then we'll sing this one for her, okay? Make it special. They spent 90 minutes rehearsing. The production team had arranged the song as a conversation between two voices. Emma would sing the verses, establishing the story, and Reba would join for the choruses, her powerhouse voice complementing Emma's more delicate tone. They added a bridge where both voices harmonized, blending Emma's youth with Reba's experience into something transcendent. You've got good instincts, Reba told Emma during a break. Don't lose those. This industry will try to change you, make you into something more marketable. Don't let them. Your truth is your strength. The taping was scheduled for 7 p.m., with an audience of 200 invited guests plus film crews. Emma spent the afternoon in the green room with Daniel, trying to eat lunch but mostly just pushing food around her plate. Robert stopped by with updates. Major network executives are in the audience, critics from every major publication. This is the highest profile performance you've done. You're not helping, Daniel told him pointedly. Right, sorry. Emma, you're going to be brilliant. Just do what you've been doing. At 6:30, Emma was called to hair and makeup. They kept her look simple. Light makeup, hair in loose waves, a simple blue dress that Robert had selected. Look like yourself, he'd advised, not like you're playing dress-up. Daniel stood in the wings as the audience filed in, recognizing several famous faces, country stars, producers, media personalities. The energy in the room was electric with anticipation. The show's format included several performances. Reba opened with a medley of her hits, her voice as powerful as ever. Then came duets with other established artists, Keith Urban, Casey Musgraves, Luke Bryan. Each performance was polished, professional, exactly what you'd expect from a CBS special. Emma's performance was scheduled next to last, the penultimate slot that in television terms signaled importance. As the previous performers took their bows, Daniel found Emma backstage, pale and trembling. "I can't do this," she whispered. "Dad, I can't. This is too big." Daniel knelt in front of his daughter, taking her hands. "Emma, listen to me. You're not doing this for those people out there. You're not doing it for the cameras or the critics or even for the opportunity. You're doing it for Mom, just like you've been doing every time you've sung since November. Close your eyes, picture her in the front row, and sing to her. Nothing else matters." Emma closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "Okay, for Mom." Reba appeared beside them, having changed into a stunning red gown. "Ready, sweetheart?" Emma nodded, and they walked together onto the Ryman stage. The audience applauded, but Emma barely heard it. She focused on the guitar in her hands, Jimmy's guitar, carried onto this legendary stage, and on the microphone stand, waiting for her. The lights dimmed. A single spotlight illuminated Emma as she sat on a stool, the guitar settled on her lap. The audience fell silent, 200 people holding their collective breath. Emma's fingers found the opening chords. When she began to sing, her voice was clear and steady, carrying through the historic venue with perfect acoustics, honed over a century of performances. He was on his way home from Candletop, been 2 weeks gone, and he thought he'd stop. As the verse progressed, Emma's nervousness evaporated. She was back at the Rusty Spoke, back in her bedroom, back in every moment she'd sung this song thinking about Sarah. The Ryman, the cameras, the famous faces in the audience, all of it faded except the music. When the first chorus arrived, Reba's voice joined hers, rich and powerful. "That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man." The blend was magical. Emma's youthful purity and Reba's seasoned power interweaving like two rivers joining into one. In the front row, Daniel felt tears streaming down his face. This was Sarah's dream realized through their daughter. They reached the bridge, the harmony section they'd rehearsed. Emma and Reba stood side by side, their voices rising and falling in perfect sync, telling the story of injustice and loss that had resonated across generations. But in this moment, it wasn't just about the song's narrative. It was about grief transformed into beauty, pain into purpose. As the final chorus swelled, something unexpected happened. Reba stepped back slightly, letting Emma take the lead, her own voice dropping to support rather than dominate. It was a gift from one artist to another, an acknowledgement that this moment belonged to Emma. The last note faded into silence so profound you could hear someone's quiet sob from the balcony. Then the audience erupted, not polite applause, but a standing ovation that rolled through the Ryman like thunder. People were crying openly, including some of the hardened industry professionals who'd seen everything. Reba pulled Emma into a hug, whispering something in her ear that the microphones didn't catch. Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. They took their bows together, and as they started to exit the stage, Reba suddenly stopped. She walked back to the microphone, Emma's hand still in hers. The audience quieted, sensing something unscripted was about to happen. "Folks, I need to say something," Reba began, her voice thick with emotion. "I've been in this business for almost 50 years. I've sung with the best, performed on the biggest stages, achieved things I never dreamed possible. But what Emma and I just shared, that's why I do this. That's why any of us do this." She turned to Emma. "Sweet girl, I've been following your story for months." I know about your mama, about the struggles your family has faced, and I know that you've been singing in bars and putting yourself out there to help your daddy keep your home. That kind of courage and heart, that's rare, that's special." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. "So here's what I'm going to do," Reba continued, and Daniel's heart began to pound. "Emma Grace Sullivan, I'm going to make sure you never have to worry about losing your home. I'm paying off your family's mortgage, completely. Today." The audience gasped collectively. Emma's eyes went wide, not fully comprehending. Daniel, in the wings, felt his knees buckle. Robert grabbed his arm to steady him, but Reba wasn't finished. "And because I believe in nurturing real talent, not exploiting it, I'm setting up a trust fund for your education. Full ride to whatever college you want to attend. Music school, if that's your path, or anything else. Your future is secured." Tears were streaming down Emma's face now. Reba knelt down to her eye level, still holding the microphone so everyone could hear. "But most importantly, Emma, I want you to have something every serious artist needs: professional training. I'm arranging for you to work with the best vocal coaches in Nashville, free of charge. You'll learn how to protect that beautiful voice, how to expand your range, how to build a career that lasts. Not because you have to, but because you deserve it." The Ryman erupted again, this time with deafening applause and cheers. Emma couldn't speak, couldn't move. She simply stood there crying as Reba embraced her again, this time letting the moment stretch as long as it needed to. Backstage, Daniel collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed. Marcus Patterson, who'd been given a ticket by Robert Jennings and was sitting in the audience, rushed backstage to find him. "Danny, did that just happen? Did Reba McEntire just—" "I don't know," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "I can't— Marcus, I don't know what to say." Robert appeared, professional composure cracked by genuine emotion. "That was unscripted. Reba's team didn't tell us she was planning that. Daniel, do you understand what just happened? She didn't just help you financially. She gave Emma her blessing. In this town, that's everything." When Emma finally came off stage, she ran straight to her father and buried her face in his chest, sobbing. These weren't tears of sadness, but of release. Months of grief, fear, pressure, and uncertainty pouring out all at once. "We're going to be okay, Dad," she whispered through her tears. "Really okay." Daniel held his daughter tight, surrounded by the controlled chaos of a television production, and let himself believe it for the first time since Sarah's death. They were going to be okay. Dussy's sake 3 months later, on a warm August evening, Daniel and Emma stood in their backyard in Inglewood. The house was theirs now, truly theirs, with papers from the bank confirming the mortgage was satisfied in full. The burden that had weighed on Daniel's shoulders since November was gone. Emma still performed at the Rusty Spoke most Friday nights, but now it was purely for the love of it, not financial necessity. The trust fund Reba had established held $500,000, managed by Patricia Reeves, to ensure it would be there when Emma was ready for college. The vocal training Reba had arranged was already making a difference. Emma's range had expanded, and she was learning techniques to protect her voice for the long term. The CBS special had aired in July, becoming one of the network's highest-rated summer programs. Emma's duet with Reba had been viewed over 50 million times online, spawning countless reaction videos and think pieces about authenticity in the music industry. Record labels were still calling, but Robert was holding them off. "Let her be a kid first," he told anyone who asked. "The music will still be there when she's ready." Emma had decided to take the fall semester to just be a normal 6th grader. No major performances, no television appearances, just school and friends and the occasional set at the Rusty Spoke. She'd learned that fame was intoxicating but also exhausting, and she needed to remember who she was beneath all the attention. "Dad, look," Emma said, pointing at the sky as the sun set behind their small house. The clouds had turned brilliant shades of orange and pink, the kind of sunset Sarah used to call God's painting. "Beautiful," Daniel agreed, his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "Do you think Mom knows about everything that happened?" Daniel considered the question seriously. "I think if there's any way for her to know, she does, and I think she's proud of you, not because you became famous or successful, but because you stayed true to yourself through all of it." Emma nodded, satisfied with that answer. "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "I want to write more original songs about Mom, about Grandpa Jimmy, about what we've been through. Not for any album or anything, just to have them, to remember." "I think that's a wonderful idea." They stood in comfortable silence as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared. From inside the house, Jimmy's guitar waited on its stand, ready whenever Emma needed it. The rusty spoke would be there on Friday night. Reba McEntire had sent a birthday card for Emma's 12th birthday next month, along with tickets to one of her concerts in September. But right now, in this moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was a father and daughter who'd survived the worst year of their lives and come out the other side intact. What mattered was a home that was secure, a future that was hopeful, and a past that, while painful, had shaped them into stronger versions of themselves. "Hey, Dad," Emma said quietly. "Yeah, Em. Thank you for letting me sing, for supporting me, for everything." Daniel pulled her closer. "Thank you for saving us. I know I'm supposed to be the parent, the one who protects you, but this year you protected me too." Emma smiled, that same smile Sarah used to give him when she was pleased with herself. "We're a team. Remember? Best team there is." Inside, Daniel's phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Poker night this Friday at my place. You in? And yes, you can finally afford to lose a few hands." Another text from Kelly at the Rusty Spoke. "Emma still on for Saturday, got a bachelorette party requesting her specifically. They'll tip big." And one from Robert. "Checking in. How's our girl? Remember, no pressure, no rush. We're playing the long game." Daniel responded to all three. Yes to poker night, yes to Saturday's performance, and a simple "she's good." "We're good," to Robert, then set the phone aside. The night air was cooling, carrying the scent of honeysuckle from the neighbor's fence. Somewhere in the distance, someone was playing music. Country naturally, this was Nashville. And Emma hummed along without thinking about it. "Come on," Daniel said, steering her toward the house. "It's a school night. You've got that science project due tomorrow." "Don't remind me," Emma groaned, but she was smiling. Normal problems, normal concerns. After months of extraordinary circumstances, normal felt like a gift. Inside, Emma spread her science project materials across the kitchen table, a model of the solar system made from styrofoam balls and coat hangers, while Daniel made dinner. Spaghetti again, but the good sauce this time, not store brand. Small luxuries they could finally afford. As Emma worked and Daniel cooked, the house filled with the sounds of ordinary life. The scrape of a chair, the sizzle of garlic in olive oil, the occasional frustrated sigh when Saturn's rings wouldn't stay attached. Sarah's absence was still felt, would always be felt, but it no longer dominated every moment. They'd learned to carry the grief alongside joy, to make space for both. After dinner, Emma practiced guitar for 30 minutes. Vocal exercises Diane Foster had taught her, followed by running through her set list for Saturday. Daniel cleaned up the kitchen, listening to his daughter's voice fill their small home, and felt something he hadn't felt in 10 months, contentment. At 8:30, Emma hugged him goodnight and headed to her room. Daniel checked his email and found one from Patricia Reeves with financial statements. Emma's earnings properly accounted for, taxes paid, everything legitimate and legal. The trust fund sat untouched, growing with conservative investments, waiting for Emma's future. He also found an email from Jennifer Holloway at WKRN, asking if Emma would be interested in doing a follow-up segment for the anniversary of her first appearance. Daniel marked it to discuss with Emma and Robert, no longer making decisions unilaterally. They were a team now, him, Emma, Robert, Patricia, and all the people who genuinely cared about Emma's well-being. Before bed, Daniel did what he'd done every night since Sarah's death. He pulled out his phone and looked at photos. Sarah laughing at their wedding, Sarah holding newborn Emma, Sarah at last year's 4th of July barbecue at Shelby Park. The pain was still there, but it had softened, become something he could live with rather than something that threatened to destroy him. "We made it, Sarah," he whispered to her image. "Our girl is going to be okay. We both are." In her room, Emma lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her mind too active for sleep despite her exhaustion. She thought about the Ryman, about standing on that legendary stage beside Reba McEntire. She thought about her mother, about all the times they'd sung together in the car or while doing dishes. She thought about Grandpa Jimmy and the guitar he'd left her, the gift that had saved their family in ways he never could have imagined. But mostly she thought about Friday night at the Rusty Spoke, about the feeling she got when she stepped onto that small stage and the crowd quieted to listen. That feeling of connection, of transforming pain into something beautiful, of helping others process their own grief through shared music. That was what she wanted to chase, not fame or fortune. Emma reached over and touched Jimmy's guitar, resting on its stand beside her bed. "Thank you, Grandpa," she whispered, "for teaching me that music can save you." She closed her eyes, and for the first time in months, sleep came easily. 6 months after the Ryman performance, on a cold January morning that marked 1 year since Emma's first viral video, Daniel sat in the kitchen reading the Nashville Scene's year-end music issue. Emma had been named Breakthrough Artist of 2026, with a full-feature article discussing her impact on Nashville's music scene and her unusual path to recognition. The article ended with a quote from Emma that made Daniel's chest tighten with pride. "I didn't set out to become famous or successful. I just wanted to honor my grandfather's legacy and help my dad through the hardest time in our lives. If my music helped other people too, then that's the real gift. That's what makes it all worthwhile." Emma appeared in the doorway, already dressed for school, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "What are you reading?" Daniel held up the magazine. "Just an article about some kid who's apparently a big deal in Nashville music." Emma rolled her eyes, grinning. "That kid needs to eat breakfast and catch the bus." They sat together at the small kitchen table, the same table where they'd counted tips and worried about bills a year ago, and ate cereal while discussing Emma's day ahead, a math test, lunch with her friends, choir practice after school. "Oh, and Robert called yesterday while you were at work," Emma mentioned. "The CMA wants me to present an award at the ceremony in November. I told him I'd think about it." "What are you leaning toward?" Emma shrugged. "It might be cool, but it's also right before my big history project is due, so I don't know. What do you think?" Daniel smiled at his daughter's priorities. "Schoolwork first, country music awards second. I think you should do whatever feels right. You've got time to decide." The bus honked outside. Emma grabbed her backpack, kissed her father's cheek, and headed for the door. But she paused on the threshold, turning back. "Hey, Dad?" "Yeah?" "I love you, and I'm glad we're on this crazy ride together." "Love you too, Em. Have a great day." She disappeared into the morning, and Daniel sat alone in the quiet kitchen. Through the window, he could see the first hints of spring, early crocuses pushing through the half-frozen ground, birds returning to build nests, the promise of renewal. His phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Inspection day at the shop. Need your help with the transmission on that Dodge. You coming in?" Daniel replied affirmatively, finished his coffee, and grabbed his keys. As he locked the front door of their small house, their fully paid-off house, he took a moment to appreciate how far they'd come. A year ago, he'd been drowning in grief and debt, terrified of losing everything. Today, he was a father whose daughter had found her purpose, whose financial struggles had eased, whose future held possibility rather than just survival. Sarah would have loved this, he thought. She would have been Emma's biggest cheerleader, organizing fan clubs and managing social media, beaming with pride at every milestone. Her absence still ached, would always ache, but Emma's success felt like a tribute to Sarah's memory, proof that beauty could emerge from tragedy, that love could outlast loss. As Daniel drove to Patterson's Auto Repair through the familiar streets of East Nashville, country music played on the radio. And when one of Emma's songs came on, Grandpa's Guitar had made it to regular rotation on several Nashville stations, he didn't change the channel. He simply listened, smiled, and let himself feel proud. At the Rusty Spoke that Friday night, Emma took the stage to a packed house that had come to feel like family. Kelly behind the bar, the regulars at their usual tables, tourists discovering something special they'd tell their friends about back home. Emma settled onto her stool, positioned Jimmy's guitar, and began to play. He was on his way home from Candletop. The familiar opening lines of "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia" filled the honky-tonk, and the crowd joined in, singing along like they'd done dozens of times before. But tonight, Emma noticed something different. A woman in the back row, probably mid-40s, crying quietly while mouthing the words. After the set, the woman approached. "I lost my son last month," she said simply. "Car accident. He was 17, listening to you sing. It's the first time since he died that I've felt anything besides pain. Thank you." Emma hugged her. This stranger united with her through shared grief and understood in that moment why she sang. Not for the views or the accolades or even the money that had saved her family. She sang for people like this woman, offering the same comfort that music had given her during her darkest days. That night, driving home with her father through the neon-lit streets of Nashville, Emma looked out at the city that had embraced her. The honky-tonks on Broadway, the recording studios in Music Row, the Ryman Auditorium standing proud among the modern high-rises. This was the landscape of her new life, built on grief, transformed into purpose. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you think we would have gotten through this year without the music?" Daniel considered carefully. "Honestly, I don't know. The money helped, absolutely, but I think what really saved us was having something to focus on besides our grief. The music gave us purpose. It gave us a way to honor Mom and Grandpa Jimmy. It connected us to each other and to people who understood what we were going through." "So it wasn't really about the music," Emma said thoughtfully. "It was about what the music meant." "Exactly." They pulled into their driveway. The porch light was on, welcoming them home to the house they no longer had to fear losing. Inside, Emma's acceptance letter to a summer music camp at Belmont University sat on the counter. Another opportunity made possible by Reba's generosity and Robert's connections. Emma's future was bright with possibilities she never could have imagined a year ago. But as they walked through the door and Emma headed to her room to finish homework, Daniel realized that the most important thing hadn't changed. They were still the same father and daughter who'd sat in this kitchen counting bills and fighting despair. The love that held them together, the resilience they'd found in each other, the memories of Sarah that guided them, those things had nothing to do with Reba McEntire's generosity or viral videos or standing ovations. Those things had saved them before the world knew Emma Grace Sullivan's name, and those things would sustain them long after the spotlight moved on. Emma appeared in the hallway, changed into pajamas despite it being only 8 o'clock. "Dad, I finished my homework. Can we watch a movie?" "What do you want to watch?" "Something Mom liked. One of those romantic comedies she was always trying to get us to watch with her." Daniel smiled, remembering Sarah's endless attempts to interest them in her favorite films. "Pick one out." "I'll make popcorn." They settled on the couch together. The opening credits of a movie Sarah had loved playing on the television. Emma curled against her father's side, the way she used to when she was younger, and they watched in comfortable silence. Halfway through, Emma spoke quietly. "I miss her." "Me too, baby. Every day. But we're okay, aren't we?" Daniel kissed the top of his daughter's head. "Yeah, Em, we're okay." And they were. Not perfect, not without struggles, not without the ever-present ache of loss. But okay in the ways that mattered. Together, secure. Moving forward with hope rather than fear. The lights of Nashville glittered beyond their windows, the city that had taken a grieving girl with a guitar and given her a chance to turn pain into purpose. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities. Next week, next month, next year, the future stretched ahead with unknowable twists and turns. But tonight, in this moment, Daniel and Emma Grace Sullivan were simply a father and daughter watching a movie on the couch, remembering someone they loved and being grateful for the journey that had brought them here. The night the lights went out in Georgia might have been about tragedy and injustice, but the night the lights came on for Emma Sullivan was about something else entirely: resilience, community, and the transformative power of using your gifts not just to survive, but to help others survive too. And that, Daniel thought as Emma's breathing deepened into sleep against his shoulder, was the real story worth telling.